What's up, guys? Derek with Team Evolution, Rush of Ikorr here, coming to you with a brand new deck profile for a set 2 avatar, the Monkey Twins. And we get to show off this gorgeous fracture foil alt art version that we pulled in one of our boxes. So super excited for that. But I'm excited mostly to just go over this deck profile with you, as it's a brand new deck that we have been working on. So with that being said, appreciate any watches, views, likes, subs. If you are new to the game or still playing the game, and you're checking out all of this, I just appreciate any watches and views. I'm going to be doing as many deck profiles as I can on a lot of these new avatars and just some other upgrades to other decks. And yeah, just trying to keep the game going. With that being said, let's just kind of go right into the deck profile, try and save as much time as possible. So, the Monkey Twins, Hunbats and Hunshuan, I think is how you say it, but the Monkey Twins. Basically, what this deck is and what you want to do is kind of just utilize control with red and purple, kind of manipulate bouncing things back and forth. And it also plays a little aggro-like, not totally aggro, not like Hunhanapu aggro, but it does have its moments where you can kind of like deal with your opponent's board, but then have a lot on the board for your opponent to have to deal with. So it plays really well. So getting into the avatar ability, this card says the next time that one or more allied champions retreat this turn, store all Ikorr stored on those champions onto target allied champion. And then its rush for 3 is to choose an allied champion, retreat all other champions, which is basically a Typhoon, but more powerful. Now, one thing I do want to say, we're going to kind of asterisk this first part of the deck profile. There is a weird ruling right now that says that avatars are not cards, okay? Now, that is not an official ruling, but that is something that has been ruled in the past. So, this card right here, Helm of Hades, with this, is a weird synergy, because if you say have a bunch of champions on the board, with this one including Helm of Hades, right? Which Helm of Hades says until the end of the next turn, this champion cannot be attacked and is not affected by card effects, okay? Now, the unaffected by card effects is what's important, is because if an avatar is not considered a card, that means that avatars can affect champions that have Helm of Hades on it. Now, in some cases, that's a good thing, because you have a card, you have like the Zeus champion that could potentially use its rush ability or its avatar ability to destroy something with Helm of Hades that potentially can't be destroyed any other way, right? Essentially. So in that case, it's like, okay, then that's kind of, I get why avatars are not cards, because then it does make that, interaction a little bit better. But in this case, it's kind of a problem, because if you have the right setup, you basically can OTK your opponent. And what that looks like is, let's say you have a ton of champions on the board that all decide to raid, and then you pay 2. That way, the next time one or more allied champions retreat, all that Ikorr goes to one champion, right? Your rush ability, now granted you have to pay 3, but if you have enough to win the game, it doesn't matter. You choose an allied champion and retreat all other champions. So what happens is you have a whole bunch of champions on the board. You activate the regular avatar ability, and then you trigger the rush ability. And you bounce everything except for the champion with Helm of Hades back to your hand, basically funneling all of the Ikorr into the champion that has Helm of Hades. And guess what? Your opponent can't interact with it. They can't kill it. It's unaffected by card effects, and it can't be attacked. So it is basically invincible with a stockpile of Ikorr that will most likely cause you to win the game on the spot if your opponent can't deal, well, they can't deal with it. So unless your opponent's winning next turn, which they're probably not, because the rush ability is also bouncing their champions, yeah, it just causes an instant OTK most of the time. So it's a weird interaction. And this is why it's important that I think we need a ruling on if avatars are cards or not. And it goes both ways, because if avatars do end up being considered a card type, as it does specify in the rulebook, then fine, this interaction doesn't work, which, whatever. But that does also mean that champions with Helm of Hades can potentially still be abused to the point to where they're just invincible. But if avatars for some reason are considered not cards because of a ruling that kind of was said before, then we have a problem. Doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be like the best thing or super toxic. It's kind of toxic if you can get it off, I'm not gonna lie. But it's one of those things where does that make this deck or this combination invincible, right? Because I think there's a lot of other decks that can still win without having to necessarily worry about this, because it does require setup. I mean, a lot of times your opponent won't even be able to do this until way late in the game. So, you know, depending on the matchup, if you're able to control them a little bit better or deal with this, or for instance, like if you're playing Achilles, right? Achilles, the 7-drop that snipes stuff out of the hand, you know, if there's a way that you can time it correctly and snipe this out of the hand, they have no way of really getting it. Well, that's not true. They do have one way to get the card back, but I'm just saying, it's kind of a weird interaction. It's something that I would pay attention to moving forward if you decide to play this deck, or if there's any tournaments in the future and this is something that doesn't get addressed by then, because it is a weird interaction. It's very powerful. I mean, if we end up being able to allow to do this, then fine. This is just a really, really powerful interaction, which is fine with me. But it's something to just be aware of. So that's the asterisk on the deck profile, because this is a part of the deck where you can kind of just win, but it's not the entire deck. So, all right. Moving on past that, we have Helm of Hades on one, we have Eye of Ra on the other. Again, we do have cards that bounce, so the Eye of Ra with a cheap card just makes sense. It's just good removal. Then we have 2 Howler Monkeys. So great champion. Basically, it's when it raids, it stores an Ikorr on another allied champion. So you basically just get a free extra Ikorr on something, and then when it secures, it retreats itself. We have Hermes Lyre to just give our champions more Ikorr. And then we have the Tressus of Nephthys that if it dies, we get to add a champion back to our hand from the grave, or any card for that matter. Next, we have the 2 Shinobis, another just cheap, efficient way to do things. We have the Mystic Ankh on one of them, which makes it a 1/2/4 that you can kind of just always manipulate and draw cards. And then this is that the Kusanagi is when it strikes a champion, it stuns it and draws a card. So again, you can kind of utilize these to the best of their abilities, where you can use them over and over, take advantage of their abilities. The 1/2/4 is actually an insane stat line for a champion if you kind of take that into consideration. But yeah, just good card. Then we have the Arcane Soldier. This is another new card that I really, really, really like for purple. It basically just protects a champion from dying. Now, there's another ruling interaction that we're not 100% sure of yet. Well, let me put it this way. So we have the Roaring Aegis on this, which makes our Monkey Twins ability cost 0. It's always nice to have something that costs 0, or makes the Avatar ability cost 0. On summon, you choose another champion. If the chosen champion would die, prevent any damage that was dealt, and then sacrifice this champion instead. We were playtesting and came into a situation where, does this protect against lethal? Because with lethal, once the champion with lethal strikes, the lethal is kind of an ability that kills the champion. It's not really dying from damage, it's dying more from the lethal keyword. So it'd be good to know also, for any devs that watch this video, if this card protects against lethal or not. I think based off of the rulebook and the wording, I would say it doesn't, which is a good way to get around this ability, but something to, again, be aware of for people that are maybe playing this card and trying to play this deck. Next, we have 2 Hole Pops with the, oh gosh, how do I say this? Tep and Zanotl or something like that. So this is the one where when you draw a card by card effect, refresh 1. So its summon ability is draw a card and refresh 1. So this essentially is a 0 cost draw 2. That you can kind of manipulate with bouncing and stuff. So it's just a way to filter through the deck, get some cheap draw power. It's really good. 2 Mischievous Troops. Went over this card in my Susano deck profile. This card is insane. One of them we have Ham on it, which makes it cost 1 less if you retreated this turn, and the other one has the Headdress, which makes it protected if you have a Maya. But when it raids, you get to retreat an allied champion, which is good for any of the cheaper champions that we've already gone over. And then if it secures, you get to retreat itself. And when something is retreated, you get to deal damage based off the amount of Ikorr that was on it. So again, this is one of the best cards for purple right now for any type of retreating based strategy. It's super powerful. Dealing damage, getting extra retreating. Very, very, very good. 2, how the heck do you say this? Perfidious Counselor. So with red and purple, obviously you have some unique choices with red. We have Apollo's Bow on one, Ruler's Decree on the other, which just makes it to where more rating. Apollo's Bow gives us a little bit more damage potentially, as well as just being able to see our next few cards. But this targets champion opponent controls, strikes another target champion. So just another good way to kind of deal with the opponent's board state. It's pretty cheap. So it's a solid card for removal if you're looking for options in that department for red. Then we have 2 Swift Messengers. We went pretty light on this one this time. We have Siston on this, which is when it attacks, you get to deal 1 damage to another opposing champion. Obviously, we're a huge fan of Scroll of Curses and Kusanagi on these cards, but you can play whatever you want. If you don't have the ultra rare infusions, this is what's great, is there's a lot of other options for you to play. I know a lot of our deck profiles have a lot of the good cards, but if you don't have those, I mean, you can still stick a ton of different infusions on these cards. And this is just an example of that, right? I mean, getting an extra damage in on attacking can potentially be a whole nother piece of removal, or allow this to remove something with 3 health. So it's a good card. Either way, it's drawing you cards, getting some extra damage in, which is really nice. Then we have 2 Ashigaru Gunner with experience. So this makes it a 3-cost raid for 3. This is also really good because if you combo this with the monkey, the Mischievous Troop, you could bounce this and deal 3 damage, right? So like you can raid for this, deal 1 damage, and then play the monkey, raid again, bounce this back to your hand, deal another 3 damage. So very good. Something to just kind of consider with this card. Just good neutral staples all the way around. That's everything with the infusions. Next up we have 1 Crisis. Very good purple card. I love this card. This card's so good. On summon, you stun a target champion, but if you stun a Greek, you can add a Greek from your graveyard to your hand, which is very nice. But it's just it's a 3/5/4 body, man. The card's so good. It raids for 1. You can abuse it over and over with the stunning. It's so powerful. I really, really like this card. Even though it's a fabled, I would honestly consider playing 2 of this. Not even going to attempt to pronounce this guy's name, but the Ancestral Bloom combos specifically with the Monkey Twins. So he's a 4/2/4 that raids for 2. It makes your Monkey Twins ability cost 0. And whenever an allied champion retreats, store an Ikorr on this champion. So this is a perfect champion that you can kind of funnel a bunch of Ikorr onto. It's got a decent body. With the Arcane Soldier, you can protect it to make sure that that Ikorr gets secured. It's just a very good card that goes with the Monkey Twins. And then we have 2 Mochizumi, sorry. Wait, I'm not saying that right. Mochizuki. Chiyomi is what it is. Staple 4-drop in every single purple deck, more or less. We're trying 1 Oni Berserker with Mystic Ankh. This makes it a 4/5/5, which is a pretty good body. And whenever you retreat a champion, you control draw a card. This color combination is a little light on draw, so being able to just have a few more options to draw cards when stuff's retreated is very good, especially since when we're retreating stuff, we're usually funneling Ikorr onto another body, which is really nice. So I think it's a good one-of piece for the deck. 2 Toyotomi, again, purple staple, no reason to really explain that. We are playing the 1 Agamemnon, so this card's cool. It's a 5/6/4, which is crazy good. Rage for 2. When you play it, you can pretty much summon one of the Arcane Soldiers from the deck. So you play this, you get the additional 2/1 body that's going to probably target him to protect him, which is very good. So, I mean, realistically, you're getting a 5/8/5 body that has a sense of protection on it and rage for 3. For 5, that's pretty good. A 5/8/5 that raids for 3 with a sense of protection is kind of insane. So, yeah, I really, really like Agamemnon with the Arcane Soldiers. 1 Pegasus, just great control card. Not much to really say there. 1 Triton. So this is another good option for red with the red-purple. So it's a 5/4/6 good body that raids for 2. When it attacks, you can draw a card, heal 2 from a Greek, or retreat a target champion, which is great. Just good for the retreating aspect of things, being able to help with that. But obviously also being able to sometimes draw cards, heal damage, which is nice as well. It's got a good body. I think it's a good one-of for the deck. And then the last champion is 1 Tomogozen, a 3/8 with Fury and Swift, which is very strong, just sometimes a board wipe in of itself, which is good. So I think in this particular deck, in this combination, it's solid. Plus, like if you play this and you get to a point where it's like almost dead, and then you play like the troops or something that bounces it back, it's really good. And then for the spells, we're playing 2 Thunderbolts, 2 Envious Exploit, pretty standard with bounce decks, 2 Heat Lightning, just more great removal. 2 Piercing Shatter, more great removal, and 2 Howling Descents, which is another piece of removal. Retreats 2 target champions. Pretty straightforward on the spells. So that's it. That is our first take on the Monkey Twins. Just a really great control deck that plays kind of aggro-like. Gets a lot of damage in, controls the board well, secures Ikorr well, has a lot of very powerful spells. And like I said, the biggest thing is that interaction between the Helm of Hades. If we are allowed to use this with Helm of Hades because avatars are not considered cards, then this deck is immediately 10 times better, because you basically just control the game until you get to a point where you can OTK your opponent, and then that's it. And then you just win the game. So it makes this deck very good. Very, very, very good. If avatars get a ruling that they are not considered cards, I'm not going to lie, I feel like this deck is a potential tier 1 deck, because you can control like crazy until you OTK them. And your opponent they will have no answer for it. If we get a ruling that avatars are cards, this deck is still very good. We obviously just don't have the OTK aspect. So something to consider. But if you are looking for a new avatar to play, red and purple gives you a lot of very good options. Obviously, you can play a lot of different things within this avatar. You still have all the Mayas that you could choose to play if you wish to bounce back and get a lot of Ikorr. Purple still has some other good options too with some of the other Greeks. There's a lot of ways you could go about it. So that's it. That's our Monkey Twins deck profile, our first iteration of it. Again, if you like the video, you like the profile, I definitely would like to hear your opinions. Give us a like and a sub, and until the next video, Team Evolution out.